Welcome to the Beer in Beautiful Places Holiday Special, or as I like to call it, Cheer in Beautiful Places. I like to do this every year because it's fun to get a little festive, and it was actually this time last year where I hit a little something to hint at the fact of what I was doing the coming year, which was attempting to hike the AT. The trail was a wonderful place for generosity and giving. What I've experienced on other trails and what people have told me about trails all over the world is that hiking really brings out the best in people. When we're away from society, it's just us and nature. We're out in the elements with little resources. People really start to look out for each other. And when you're away from modern conveniences, even the littlest thing can make the hugest difference to you. There's so many wonderful tales from the trail out there. Let's read some. In this wonderful book passed down by my family for generations. Michelle says, "This is a little different, but I'm a trail angel in Pennsylvania, and I had a wonderful experience when someone came along and helped me out when I was doing some trail magic. One time I was swamped with hikers during the bubble, 42 that day, which is a bunch that far north on the trail at once. I was quickly running out of supplies and didn't have time to leave when I knew more were coming. A man who hiked the PCT was camping at a local campground and stopped because he wanted to see if he could meet some AT hikers. When I told him I was running low on food, he offered to go to the store for me and bought a pile of stuff I needed. It was so cool to get magic on magic." And that's from Jinx. Lynn says, "For the first week of my thru in 23, which is this year, my food bag, including my pot, gas, and stove, were stolen from a bear box along with 7 or 8 other hikers' belongings. This was prior to my first resupply. The negative experience was immediately replaced by kindness and generosity from several hikers I had not met yet. I left camp with breakfast in me and having plenty for the day. At my first road crossing, a hostel driver was already waiting. Having heard about the mess, he drove me to his hostel for a quick resupply, and I was back on the trail in 30 minutes. When I finally got to Neal's Gap, where I planned to replace my stove, a hiker who had become a great friend stepped out with a brand new stove in his hands. I stifled my tears. I hiked on a very tight budget and had at least the normal amount of fear and worry for a first-timer. This tragedy was turned into what would set the stage for my whole hike. I hiked with confidence, trusting the Lord every step. God used the kindness of many others along the way to permanently change my outlook on everything going forward. The kindness of the hiker community set an amazing example for me to follow in life." This next story is from Riley. "A shuttle driver / trail angel, Mark, out of Harper's Ferry, gave me a ride to the ER for stitches, waited for me to take a hotel for the night, and took me back to the trail the next morning. A true lifesaver. I'll never forget him." Wow, can you imagine getting stitches on the trail and going back the next day? Logistics can be so hard, and that person's time and gas money, I'm sure, was recognized. We'll get back to the stories in a minute, but I just want to pause for a second to say how grateful I am for the sponsor of today's video. Because there are people out there that are willing to sponsor videos, I'm able to do this full time, and I just could not ask for anything better. Today's sponsor is TishCare, a wonderful foot and calf and even arm muscle massager. It's very, very simple. You just plug it in and it turns on. There are different settings. You can make the massagers go faster or slower. You can even turn on heat. It comes with a remote, so you can change the settings without even bending down if you want to. The first time I opened it, I was so excited. We just plugged it in right away. Smoke was the first test subject. I think we might have a special appearance by Sophie, Smokemaster's cat. Pretty interesting, huh, girl? It's a box. You love boxes. Whoa. I'm excited already. Oh, it's so, nicely packaged, too. You can tell they don't want any damage to it done on the way. Here we go. Whoa. This is so luxurious. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to test it out. Here's Smokemaster trying out the new massager. Feel good on your muscles?
It's like orange twisting.
What's orange twisting?
Like what they do to oranges, where they like put it on that machine and like, but it feels like it's doing that to my calves, and it feels so good.
To massage your feet, face the controls towards you. If you press the buttons on the side, the arm can move around and prop it up at the perfect angle to massage your calves. Simply set it on a table to massage your forearms. I can't imagine if I could have used it right away after my hike. Not only using it for after hikes, but for example, Smoke works on his feet all day, and I can't wait to have him come home and say, oh, come on, I'll get you some dinner. You go sit with the foot massager and just relax after a long day of work. If you're looking for some last-minute Christmas gifts, may I suggest HIKERS? It's a really nice thing to have, and I can't wait to use it more. Thank you, HIKERS, for sponsoring this video. Okay, now where were we exactly? Our next story comes from Douglas, who said, I section hiked 160 miles last June in New Jersey and New York. Met a thru-hiker named Solo and spent 9 days with him before returning home and continuing his journey. We have kept in touch, and he has promised to visit and support me on my thru-hike attempt in 2024. To my amazing surprise, he ordered and sent me a custom food bag from Hilltop Packs with my picture on it, one that he had taken of me. That to me was unimaginable thoughtfulness that is unforgettable. If you all haven't seen those food bags, you can print any picture on them, and they're just so cool. Really a morale boost every time you get your food out. David said, in my 1979 HE thru hike, I was inexperienced and ill-equipped. I wore Converse sneakers, and the tough rocks in Pennsylvania literally tore them apart. When I got to East Stroudsburg, I was taping my sneakers. I was a poor college student when a kind, well-dressed lady walked up to me and asked me about my hike. We talked for a bit, and she asked me to come with her, and she bought me lunch and insisted on buying me hiking shoes. She would not take no for an answer. She was a trail angel in the truest sense. Her generosity has always meant a lot to me. A lot of people said the biggest gift they were given was their spouse or even a parent supporting them through this hike, giving them emotional support, taking care of everything else going on in their life, and just that act of taking care of someone else. Michelle says, here's my story from being on trail and getting magic. I was section hiking Massachusetts this year, and on day 4, I was struggling with a ton of knee pain from an existing injury. That day, I hiked north over Greylock. I kept myself going, thinking I'd get a soda at the top at the restaurant. Well, the restaurant was closed due to staff shortages, and I was pretty devastated. I was slow that day from the pain and still had to get a few miles north of North Abrams to end my day. As I came through town, I saw a little kiosk set up by local churches, and what did I find? The best can of root beer I've ever had. It gave me the energy to do those last couple miles. It's the little things that are the best on trail. Here's one from Haley. I could go on forever about how much my family supported me and my trampoline, but I'd like to highlight the hiking community in this post. I thru-hiked in 2022 and was part of a large but close hiking community in New Hampshire for a few years prior to thru-hiking. I obnoxiously talked about the White Mountains with my trampoline, hoping that they would get to meet some of the people from my home that had such a big impact on preparing me for my thru-hike. From the moment we entered New Hampshire, my people showed up to support us. Crunchy, my friend from high school, had hiked the trail in 2020 and gave me a solid shakedown before I left for the trail. He met up with our trampoline for 3 days straight, bringing us pizza and fruit, made us tacos with a vegetarian option for my gal Ducky, eggs, and bacon. He even brought a cake for a flip-flopper named Tunes who happened to meet us the day before his birthday. He ended up hiking the rest of the trail with us. Of course, Crunchy thought of it all and supplied us with toilet paper after all that delicious food. We had beer packed into shelters for us, were given rides to resupply, and were invited to stay at my friend Mike and Katie's home to do laundry, shower, and snuggle with their pup Jackson. They housed 6 of us. Mike arranged a huge trail magic event for our crew at the base of Moosilauke so that I could see as many faces as possible at once, without feeling like I had to coordinate separate hikes with everyone. Other thru-hikers benefited from this trail magic event and were blown away by the support the hiking community showed us all that day. My friend Josh hiked with our crew a bunch, let us slack pack for a day, and kept our spirits high. We even had grapes, champagne, and all kinds of good delivered to our hostel for the thru-hikers to enjoy. There is no way to accurately depict how how much community showed up for us through the Whites, but I am eternally grateful for them. I am so proud to call them my friends. Linda says, I can't help but think of my son, Grandmaster, who died tragically last year, 2022, at the AT after he fell off McAfee Knob. It happened on his very last day of his 2-month thru hike. He would have been home 3 days later. I only hear so many positive stories of him, like he was just a light beacon and helped so many people getting through different moments. That's from his Tramily. So often I've heard, if you met him, you will remember him. He is missed enormously by his family and friends. That really is powerful. That the hiking community would reach out and support this person's loved ones, even after they lost their lives. Wow. Whew. Evan said, I made it from Georgia to Gorham, New Hampshire, constantly wishing I had one of those fancy lightweight umbrellas. I was fed up with being wet and heavy. A fellow hiker offered me theirs since they were dropping out. It rained almost every day in the 100-mile wilderness. That dinky umbrella kept me relatively happy the remainder of my trip. Sometimes a lot of it is just fate, right? Like if that hiker hadn't dropped out, that person wouldn't have got an umbrella. Man. Russell said, Sassafras and Atlas Hikes bought a whole honey-baked ham, buns, and beer to our tent site on Easter when we were doing a 500-mile section. Kara says, during a very hot, record-breaking day in July in Pennsylvania, my hiking bud and I were dreaming of ice-cold food. He asked if I could receive anything in the world for trail magic, what would it be? I said, a plum. Such a random fruit to be craving. But the next day, we got trail magic, and guess what was there? Tiny little mini plums! I almost cried with excitement. The trail provides. Dana said, my mom takes me to the trail, and if I ever want to give up, she tells me to keep going. My mom is the best gift anyone could ask for. Now at 55 and mom at 85 with my kids grown and taking care of themselves, she keeps saying, better do Mount Katahdin, a goal to be completed soon. Carolyn says, getting a stick of body glide from another hiker when I was on fire and every step was literally torture. I had some bad chafing on my back when my shirt started to tear, and wow, I could not imagine going without body glide. That must have been an amazing gift. Nicole said, when I was in Shenandoah, my dog was having some GI issues. I called a vet in Luray, Virginia, and they took us in for an appointment. She only charged me for the meds. After the appointment, her tech drove me and my dog to my hotel and then picked me up, my dog, and my Tramily up the next day and took us to her house to use her pool. She bought us lunch and snacks and let us do laundry. She dropped us all off at the cavern so we could see the caverns. If we hadn't had a place to stay, she would have let us stay there too. It was truly the most magical experience. Robbie said, I did a section hike a few weeks ago and we took a break once we made it to the top of Springer. A guy came up behind me and offered me a Polaroid he took of me, my friends, and my pup. One of the best gifts I've received on trail. Mary Colleen said, been taking George Lightcap's beads with me for years now. They always make me smile. I asked her about it and she said he's a trail angel and shuttle driver in New Jersey. I have been wearing his beads on all my section hikes ever since we met. He's my first ever shuttle driver and set the bar very high. Dennis said, best gift for me has been the introduction to the AT. I hiked my first section in September. I am headed to do Springer in December 23, which is right now. My buddy took me on my first hike, and I have fallen in love with everything and everyone I've met so far in this hiking community. Amber said, best trail gift, ice cold ShamWow on a 100+ degree day. Best gift, my daughter got us each a Nemo dragonfly for Christmas. We each get our own space and it's lighter than what we used to share. Steven said, the best trail magic was the friends I made along the way. But seriously, in Shenandoah, it was really wet and rainy, and I stopped by a picnic pavilion to get out of the rain, and a family that was there gave me 2 burgers and some chicken. I don't know if they even knew I was out there trying to do the AT. There's a language barrier. They just asked if I wanted something to eat, and even after I said, no, I'm fine, someone made me a plate anyway. It was delicious. Jordan says it was on the PCT, but a trail angel who me and my hiking partner connected with on Facebook literally let us let ourselves into her home since she was out with some friends until later. And the kicker, borrow her car. This was Southern California as a Sobo, so you can't even imagine how incredible this was to experience. If you're not too familiar with the PCT, Southern California would be the end if you're going solo. And they had just done the Sierras, which are some of the toughest hiking I've ever done. So I'm sure, like, oh my goodness, being able to drive places, oh my goodness. To be able to drive to the grocery store and a nice hot meal at a barbecue restaurant, it was like Christmas. Oh, what a coincidence. Her warmth, openness, and trust in what I can only imagine is in humanity in general has stuck with me far, far beyond the luxuries she provided us with that night. Pam said, "Hey Maddie, one of the best hiking gifts I've been given is watching your videos." You can put that in your video. The way I'm getting all these stories is I asked in a Facebook group about the AT for stories of generosity and trail magic that had happened. Another nice thing that happened to me was during a section hike of the Allegany Trail. We were hoping to mail ourselves a resupply along the way, but there was nowhere really convenient to the trail. So we packed up our boxes and he took a weekend, drove up to the area that would be about halfway and started talking to people. He found a sweet lady that agreed to hold our resupply for us, refusing his offer to pay to hold it for us. Once we got there, she gave us cold drinks and proudly showed us the church she goes to next to her home and let us know how they keep a room there for anyone who might be stuck in the area with need to stay overnight. I thought it was pretty special. It is. Greg says, "Lost my AWOL guidebook." Now, if y'all don't know what that is, it is just a book with all the information about the AT, like where you're going to get water, how the elevation is. Basically, if you don't have the app far out on your phone, people use that guidebook instead. So it's pretty essential for getting through your day. Anyway, back to Greg. Lost my AWOL guidebook in a horrible 3-week monsoon. Found a nearly new one in a Grayson Highland shelter. Oh my goodness, how cool. Diana said, "Honestly, the first week someone gave me a bag of cheddar potato chips. You would think I'd won the lottery. Sometimes it's the little things." This is Smoke. Oh my goodness, that's one of the friends I met on trail. I'm here with Spreadsheet, and he said, corny as it sounds, friendship. Angela said, big trail magic in the 100-mile wilderness thanks to retired hiker Sherpa and his wife. A much-needed boost at the perfect time. Their kindness was appreciated more than they will ever realize. Jake said, Willen gave me some water when my filter was broken. I'm sure that was extremely helpful. Shooting Star says, I'm a section hiker with over 1,800 AT miles in the last 4 years. I always pack a quart Ziploc bag with small items that hikers might want or need. I introduce myself to other hikers and offer to let them pick something from the Trail Magic bag. The bag has small stuff. YC wipes, True Lemon and Lime packets, lighters, tea bags, bouillon packets, fire starters, candy, nuts, and dry fruit. I have received far more Trail Magic than I have given. Oh, and that was the last page. How cool that this is a phenomenon throughout the hiking community. People really look after each other out there. With all my holiday specials, I always want to make a note that the holidays can be hard for some people. And if that's you, just know that I'm thinking about you. Whether you're working, you're away from home, you've lost someone recently, some people are short on money, some people just don't have great family situations to go back to, or just it's a really lonely time of year for some people. Just know that I'm thinking of you, I'm hoping the best for you, and after the winter solstice, the days start getting lighter again, so at least there'll be sunlight and we'll be out adventuring soon. Happy holidays, everyone, from my home to yours. Thanks for watching, bye!